A very good morning, my dear students. Last class, I have talked about the temporomandibular joint, its anatomy and histology. In that, we saw each parts of TMJ and its function. Today, I am going to talk about the ligaments, movements, and age changes of TMJ. Ligaments of TMJ are capsular ligament, temporomandibular ligament, and accessory ligament. Capsular ligament or an articular capsule is a fibrous sac that encloses the joint cavity. It is attached to the articular margins of the temporal bone superiorly and to the neck of the condyle inferiorly. An articular disc intervenes between the two articular surfaces and it is attached peripherally to the inner surface of the capsule. The capsule is thin and loose between the temporal bone and the articular disc, but between the disc and the mandible it is thicker and stronger. It is lined by the synovial membrane. Anteriorly, the tendon of lateral pterygoid muscle is inserted into it. Now we'll see about the temporomandibular ligament. Temporomandibular ligament or a lateral ligament is a strong fan-shaped ligament functioning to reinforce the lateral walls of the articular capsule and thus act to limit the lateral and the posterior movement of the joint. It is attached superiorly to the articular tubercle and a segment of zygomatic process and runs posterior inferiorly to attach it to the condyle and posterior lateral aspect of the neck of the mandible. Now we'll see about the accessory ligament. There are two accessory ligaments which do not contribute to support the temporomandibular joint but facilitate and limit the movement of accessory ligament. They include sphenomandibular ligament and stylomandibular ligament. Sphenomandibular ligament extends from the spine of the sphenoid to the lingula and lower margins of the mandibular foramen. It represents the unossified intermediate part of the sheath of the Merkel's cartilage of the first pharyngeal arch. Over movement of the mandible is limited by this ligament. Stylomandibular ligament extends from the lateral border of the styloid process to the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible above its angle. It is thickened part of the investing layer of deep fascia of the neck. It separates the parotid gland from the submandibular salivary gland. This ligament participates in limiting the protrusive movement. These ligaments are thought to play a significant role during protrusive and depression of the joint. Now we'll move on to the movements of temporomandibular joint. Temporomandibular joint exhibits two types of movements, namely a rotation and translation. Rotation can be called as a hinge movement, whereas the translation can be called as a gliding movement. The upper compartment of the joint shows the antero-posterior gliding movement during which the condyle and the articular disc moves as a single unit against the glenoid fossa. The lower compartment shows a hinge movement during which the condyle moves against the articular disc and glenoid fossa, which together act as a single unit. The movement of the joint are produced by the muscles of mastication and by hyoid muscle. The two divisions of the temporomandibular joint have different function. The upper part of the joint allows the protrusion and the retraction of the mandible, that is the anterior and the posterior movements of the jaw, whereas the lower part of the joint permits the elevation and the depression of the mandible, that is the opening and the closing of the mouth. The lateral pterygoid muscle is responsible for protrusion and which is assisted by the medial pterygoid muscle. The posterior fibers of the temporalis performs the retraction. Now you are going to see the video of protrusion and the retraction and how the muscle helps during the protrusion and the retraction movements. Elevation is a very strong movement which is caused by the contraction of temporalis, masseter and the medial pterygoid muscle, whereas the depression is mostly caused by the gravity. However, if there is a resistance, Then the digastric, geniohyoid and the mylohyoid muscle will assist. Now you will see the video of elevation and the depression and how the muscle act during the elevation. Now we'll see the lateral deviation. A lateral movement that is for chewing and grinding is achieved by the alternatively protruding and the retracting the mandible on each side. Now you will see the video of a lateral deviation. The mandibular movements are determined by the condylar guidance, incisal guidance and the neuromuscular factor. First we will see about the condylar guidance. It is the mandibular guidance generated by the condyle and the articular disc transferring the contour of glenoid fossa. The glenoid fossa along with the articular eminence form an S-shaped path along which the condyle moves. This shape of the glenoid fossa which determine the path of movement of condyle is called as the condylar guidance. Now we'll see the incisal guidance. It is defined as the influence of the contacting surface of the mandibular and the maxillary anterior teeth during the mandibular movement. When the mandible is moved forward, the incisal edge of the lower anterior teeth slides along the lingual surface of the maxillary anterior teeth. Therefore, the lingual surface of the maxillary anterior teeth guides the mandible during the protrusion movement and this is called as the incisal guidance. Now we'll see the neuromuscular factor. The movement of the jaw is determined to a greater extent by the muscles of mastication which coordinate together to move the mandible in a symmetric manner. Now we'll see about the types of mandibular movement. It is of two types, that is the rotation and the lateral jaw movement. First we'll start off with the rotation. The mandible can rotate in three dimensions around three axes and they are hinge axis, rotation around sagittal axis and rotation around the vertical axis. First we'll see about hinge axis. In this case, mandible rotates around a horizontal axis extending from right side to the left side condyle. This type of movement is seen during protrusion movement. The next movement is rotation around the sagittal axis. This type of movement is seen in association with the lateral movement. Here the mandibular rotates around an imaginary axis running along the mid-sagittal plane. During this movement, condyle on the working side, the side to which the mandible is moved, which moves laterally and upward, while the condyle on the balancing or non-working side moves medially and downward along the medial slope of glenoid fossa. The next type of mandibular movement is the rotation around the vertical axis. Here the mandible rotates around a vertical axis that runs through the condyle and the posterior border of the ramus of the mandible. This type of movement occurs when the jaw is moved to the side, that is the lateral movement. When a person opens the mouth to about 20 to 25 mm, the mandible moves around the horizontal axis. This kind of movement are observed while crushing the food or taking the food. After a certain degree of mouth opening, that is beyond 13 degrees rotation of the condyle in TMJ, the condyle begins to glide forward and downward along the anterior slopes of glenoid fossa. This type of movement occurs while grasping the food. The lateral jaw movements of the mandible can be of two types, that is the lateral rotation and the Bennett movement. First we will see about the lateral rotation. Lateral rotation occurs when the mandible moves away from the mid-sagittal plane. This can occur on the right or the left side and takes place while chewing the food. During this lateral rotation, condyle on either side do not share the common path of movement. The condyle on the working side moves laterally and upward, downward, forward, backward or onward, while the condyle on the balancing or non-working side moves forward, downward and medially. Next we will see about the Bennett movement. Bennett movement is defined as the bodily lateral movement or lateral shift of the mandible resulting in the movement of the condyle along the lateral inclines and along the mandibular fossa in the lateral jaw movements. During this, the lateral translation of condyle occurs and the mandible shifts by 1 to 4 mm towards the working side. This type of movement of mandible is called as the Bennett movement, and it is recorded in the region of translating condyle of non-working side. This lateral shift of condyle occurs along with or before the lateral rotation. The Bennett movement can be classified based on the time of shift in relation to the forward movement of the non-working condyle. So it can be the immediate shift, precurrent side shift and progressive side shift. The immediate side shift, this movement of the mandible occurs before the forward movement of non-working condyle and its average movement is about 0.75 mm. Next is the precurrent side shift. This occurs during the first 2 to 3 mm of forward movement of non-working condyle. During this, the mandible shift rapidly in the initial stage, that is 2 to 3 mm lateral shift, followed by the less rapid shift. Next is progressive side shift, which is otherwise called as Bennett side shift movement. This lateral shift is gradual and occurs often 2 to 3 mm of forward movement of non-working condyle. Now we'll see about the age changes of TMJ. The condyle becomes more flattened, whereas the fibrous capsule of the condyle becomes thicker. There will be an osteoporosis of the underlying bone will occur. There will be a thinning or absence of cartilaginous zone will be present. The disc becomes thinner and it shows hyalinization and chondrite changes. The synovial fold becomes fibrotic with thick basement membrane. The walls of the blood vessels are thickened and the number of nerves will be decreased. So these changes may lead to decreased in synovial fluid formation. There will be an impairment of motion due to the decreased in the disc and capsule extensibility. It decreases the resilience during mastication due to chondrite changes into the collagenous element, and there will be a dysfunction in older people. To summarize today's class, today we have seen about the ligaments, movements and age changes of TMJ. First we saw about the ligaments of TMJ. In ligaments of TMJ, there are three types of ligaments in TMJ, that is the capsular ligament or articular capsule, temporomandibular ligament or lateral ligament and the accessory ligament. The accessory ligament includes the sphenomandibular ligament and the stylomandibular ligament. Then we have seen about the movements of TMJ. In movements of TMJ, the TMJ exhibits two types of movements, namely the rotation, that is the hinge movement, and the translation, that is the gliding movement. The upper compartment shows the gliding movement, whereas the lower compartment shows the hinge movement. Then we saw about the basic movements of mandible, that is the protrusion, retraction, elevation, depression and the lateral deviation. Then to determine the mandibular movements, we require certain factors such as condylar guidance, incisal guidance and the neuromuscular factor. Then we saw about the rotation and the lateral jaw movements. In rotation, the mandible can rotate in three directions around three axes such as transverse or hinge axis, sagittal axis and around the vertical axis. The lateral jaw movements can be of two types, that is the lateral rotation and the Bennett movement. The Bennett movement can be classified into immediate shift, precurrent side shift and the progressive side shift. Finally, we saw the age changes of TMJ. With this, I complete today's class. So that completes my class about the temporomandibular joint. So we started off with its anatomy and histology. Today we saw the ligaments, movements and the age changes of TMJ. So try to read each and every aspects of TMJ. Everything is very important. From your exam point of view, read about the ligaments of TMJ, which is most frequently asked 5-mark question, and the histology of TMJ. If you have any doubts regarding today's class, write down your doubts in the Google form. Thank you. Have a great day.